So hi everybody, welcome back to the Cochran Doctrine with me, Eric Cochran. Please hit like and subscribe to my channel below. So I am very eager to begin addressing some political topics in upcoming vlogs. I'm just waiting to purchase a new Apple MacBook so I have a better computer to edit with. Before I reach that point though, there's one more piece of advice that I would like to put out there during this vlog, which I will be doing today. These past 2 weeks I've uploaded videos offering my advice on getting into the rideshare business and how it saved me through this past year's COVID pandemic. And last week I dedicated 2 uploads to my status as a proud 5-year Riverside alumnus. Today I'm going to talk about my college years with particular emphasis on something that I did and I would encourage every college student to do, and that is to study abroad. So if you've watched my previous uploads, you'd know that I graduated from Riverside Military Academy in 2009, and then after that I went out to Boulder, Colorado for my freshman year. My time there was brief. I only lasted a year. I started off in the Leeds School of Business, but by second semester I knew I wasn't going to make it in that program. Both micro and macroeconomics killed me, so did a calculus class second semester. Boulder was a fun place to be, but college isn't when you're really not enjoying your classes, which I wasn't between 2009 and 2010. In spring of 2010, being a Florida Gulf Coast resident, we were also hit very hard by the BP oil spill, which made it impossible for my parents to send me back. So I came home at the end of summer 2010. I took 21 hours at community college the next 2 semesters and pulled my GPA up from about a 1.7 to a 2.3. I had hoped for most of the year that I would get to return to Boulder, but my parents said it wasn't going to happen. After my horrible year out there, they were not supporting me going back, and that they wanted me to stay closer to home too. So my 2.3 was enough to get me into West Virginia University, where I ended up going in the fall of 2011. My attitude was, if I couldn't go to college in Colorado anymore, what was the state that was most like it on the East Coast? Apart from that, my parents are also originally from the Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia, where my entire extended family still resides, or at least did at the time. So, needless to say, that's pretty much always been my home away from home with all my family there, and it's only about 4 hours from Morgantown, West Virginia. So I arrived on campus in Morgantown stone cold in August of 2011. I had never visited it, nor did I know anybody who was there at the time. First semester, I was battling some really bad anxiety, fearing flunking out of school again. I had gotten off medication a year earlier in hopes of doing ROTC in college, but by the middle of my first semester, I had to get back on it. My 7-year plans up to that point of a post-college military career I had to accept were over, but my mental health was definitely more important. College was not easy for me. I finished with about a 2.7, 2.8. When you're a transfer student and arriving on a new campus when you've already been on one, it's different. You're over that initial euphoria of being in college, and if you've survived that long, you realize what you have to do to stay in college. I still was slogging through 1, if not 2 classes for the 5 semesters that followed at WVU. I won't deny that I did miss Boulder at times. It's one of the greatest college towns in America, and I had met some great people freshman year, which even to this day I hope I'll see again someday. But there were also some great times at Morgantown as well. We were, of course, much better in football. The 2011-2012 seasons were, of course, when Geno Smith was there, and I got to see him play. We crushed Clemson to win the Orange Bowl in the 2011 season. My first year, we also had Bruce Irvin before he became the first round pick after 7 years in the 2012 NFL Draft. The Seahawks, of course, picked him up, who 2 years later would win the Super Bowl right after I had graduated from WVU in December of 2013, so I was really happy for him. But in the 2.5 years I was a student at WVU, the greatest part, and I might as well say all, all college long for that matter, was going to Spain for 5.5 weeks in summer of 2013 before I came back for my last semester. What made it even better was that my parents, for most of the year prior, didn't support me going, and I had to fight them literally up until, my spring 2013 grades came in. And when I got back, I learned that July of 2013 had been one of the rainiest summer months we had had in Destin in years. My father was at the time building 2 properties which he had fallen behind on that summer due to weather conditions as bad as they had been. So we flew into Madrid. Our program started there in that weekend in Madrid. We visited all the major sites during the weekend. The university we spent the month at was up in Santander, which was a resort town on the Bay of Biscay, 4 hours north of Madrid. It was absolutely beautiful and only 4 blocks from the beach. As far as day-to-day life, we tested and landed in a Spanish class and spent 4 hours in class each weekday up until 1 p.m. After that, the rest of the day was ours. We American students from WVU were also there with several students who were French, Dutch, German, Swiss, as well as a few Scandinavian countries. It was a wonderful experience being surrounded by those from other countries. Every weekend except the last one, where we were free to go off on our own, we did excursions. Los Picos de Europa National Park and Bilbao were 2 of the places that we visited. I'll add that on the drive up from Madrid, we stopped in Valladolid, and on the drive back, we visited Salamanca and the ancient Roman aqueduct at Segovia. We also got to see a bullfight the last week in Santander, which was brutal, but at the same time incredible. So, the one weekend we were free, some in my group went to Barcelona. I opted out of that, given what I had in my budget. Our program never went south of Madrid, so I decided before I even left that I wanted to go down to Andalusia for the sake of seeing some of the Moorish history. That's 800 years worth of history on the Iberian Peninsula. I spent a few nights in Granada, visiting the Alhambra, then taking the bus to Cordoba to visit the Mesquita one day. The last week and a half, pretty much from the night of the bullfight, visiting Salamanca and the Roman aqueduct at Segovia on the way back to Madrid, concluding with the Flamenco show the last night of our program in Madrid, and the few nights in Andalusia that I tacked on for myself, was the greatest part. It was an absolutely incredible experience, to say the least, and for me, it was a perfectly sufficient amount of time too. After almost 6 weeks, I was ready to go home. I would not have wanted to go abroad for a whole semester, much less an entire year like some college students do. This experience would not be complete without me saying that I had had my 23rd birthday a week and a half before I left, and I had requested a decent digital camera as my gift. I took and uploaded so many photos during these 5 weeks, and I credit this with developing a passion for photography that I have had ever since. So I would encourage any college student to study abroad. It's an experience I know I will never forget, and I doubt you will either. So, thanks for watching. I'm Eric Cochran, and this is the Cochran Doctrine.